Lily noticed it in the middle of a joke. Not at the beginning of the evening, not when they arrived, not while they were taking off coats or greeting people. The realization came almost an hour later, in the middle of a conversation that wasn't even important. Marcus was standing across the room at his colleague's birthday party, with a drink in one hand, laughing with a group of people near the windows. Someone had apparently said something funny because the entire group laughed at once. Marcus laughed, and Lily automatically looked at him. She looked because for 7 years that had been a habit. People had habits inside relationships that they rarely noticed while living them. Tiny things. Invisible things. Marcus always squeezed her hand twice before letting go in crowded places. Lily always stole fries from his plate and pretended she wasn't doing it. Marcus always reached for her lower back while walking through crowded rooms. And Marcus always looked for her after laughing. Always. Whenever something happened across a room, his eyes used to find her automatically. A joke, a weird moment, someone embarrassing themselves on a dance floor, anything. His expression would immediately shift toward her, like he was checking whether she saw it too. It happened so naturally that Lily never thought about it. Until now. Because Marcus laughed, and his eyes never moved. Lily kept staring for another second, then another. She waited automatically. Nothing. Then Marcus continued talking. At first she almost laughed at herself, because the thought sounded ridiculous. People looked at different things. People got distracted. Normal people didn't suddenly question 7 years because of eye contact at a birthday party. But something uncomfortable happened immediately afterward. Once she noticed it, she couldn't stop noticing it. For the rest of the evening, Lily kept watching him without meaning to. Not obsessively and not suspiciously, just noticing. Marcus was moving naturally through conversations, while Lily kept waiting for those tiny, unconscious moments that used to happen between them. Looking toward her after saying something funny, catching her eyes across the room, smiling automatically when noticing her watching him. Nothing happened. It wasn't that Marcus ignored her. He kissed her cheek when he walked by. He asked whether she wanted another drink. Once he touched her shoulder while moving behind her. Everything looked normal. That was the problem. Everything looked normal. Later that night while driving home, Lily sat beside Marcus staring out the passenger window. Rain had started sometime during the evening, and streetlights blurred softly across the glass. Marcus was talking about someone from work. Lily barely heard him, because another memory had suddenly surfaced. 3 years earlier, they had gone to a friend's wedding. Lily remembered standing near the back of the room talking with someone she barely knew. Marcus had been across the dance floor surrounded by people. Then somebody made a joke. Marcus laughed, and immediately looked toward her. Even from across a crowded room, even with dozens of people between them. Lily remembered smiling because he looked ridiculous trying to get her attention while still laughing. Then he had raised his glass slightly in her direction, like they were sharing a private conversation from opposite sides of the room. Back then she hadn't thought about it. Back then it felt normal. Now she suddenly wondered how many things only became visible after they disappeared. Over the next week, she noticed more things. Not dramatic things, tiny things. Marcus no longer sent her random pictures during the day. He used to send photos of strange signs, ugly dogs, terrible parking jobs, things that reminded him of her for no reason at all. Once he had sent her a picture of a cloud because he insisted it looked exactly like a rabbit wearing sunglasses. Another time, he interrupted an important meeting just to send her a picture of a tiny cactus in a store because it looked angry. Lily remembered opening those messages and smiling without thinking. She remembered how ordinary it all felt. Now he still texted, but mostly about practical things. Need anything from the store? Running 10 minutes late. Did you pay the electric bill? She started noticing how much of their relationship had slowly become logistics. One evening, she was cleaning a kitchen cabinet and found an old receipt trapped between recipe books. It was from a small diner they used to visit almost every Sunday years earlier. Without thinking, she smiled. Then another memory surfaced. Marcus used to sit across from her in that diner and play a stupid game while waiting for food. He would make up fake stories about strangers sitting around them. The guy near the window definitely owns 6 parrots. That woman is secretly an international spy. The stories were ridiculous and never made sense. Lily used to laugh so hard she could barely breathe. Standing in the kitchen holding that old receipt, she suddenly realized she couldn't remember the last time Marcus had done anything pointless just to make her laugh. That realization felt heavier than she expected. Not because relationships stayed exactly the same forever, because she couldn't remember when they had changed. Days later, they met friends for dinner. Halfway through the evening, Lily went to the restroom. When she returned, she slowed down before reaching the table. Marcus was laughing again. And without thinking, she watched him, watched where his eyes went. Not toward her, not toward the doorway, not even searching, because he wasn't expecting her anymore. Suddenly, another memory appeared beside it. Years ago, whenever Lily left tables at restaurants, Marcus would automatically look up when she returned. Always. Sometimes he smiled. Sometimes he moved her chair slightly. Sometimes he just reached for her hand for a second before continuing the conversation. She had never noticed because people rarely notice something that happens every time, only when it stops. And suddenly, Lily understood something that felt far heavier than she wanted it to. People imagined betrayal as discovering something, messages, secrets, another person. But maybe betrayal sometimes arrived differently. Maybe it arrived quietly. Maybe it arrived when someone stopped reaching for you in ways so small you never noticed them before. Later that night, Marcus fell asleep almost immediately. Lily lay awake beside him, staring into darkness while hearing his breathing beside her. Because she kept thinking about one terrible thing. The hardest part wasn't realizing someone had stopped looking for you. The hardest part was realizing you didn't know when they stopped. Because that meant there had probably been a last time. A final joke after which he looked across a room for her. A final moment when she was still the first face he searched for without thinking. And the worst part was knowing neither of them had realized it was happening while it was still happening. If this story felt familiar, there are more like it here.